I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
You know, we often see homeless people that are lining the streets, and we don't think about it during the good weather, but we do notice it when it's cold outside. And it's painful to watch when someone is obviously suffering. Well, it can be a lesson for your children, but what lesson do you want them to learn? Now, what I did with my daughter and some of the people from our mosque, we would feed the homeless every Friday. We took sandwiches, we made sandwiches, and we took them out to the streets, and we just passed them out to people who were on the street. And I took my daughter, who at the time was like 3, 4 years old. So in that way, she learned that you have to have empathy for those who are less fortunate. But now one day I was riding in a car with a friend who also had a 4-year-old. And we passed by a man living in a cardboard box, and it was also a cold day, and the man looked like he didn't have warm enough clothing and trying to live in a box, and it was a pretty pitiful sight. And my friend said to his 4-year-old son, "Now see, look at that man. That is a loser. That's what you don't want to be. That's why you have to go to school and work hard and make sure you get a good job so you can take care of yourself. So you don't want to end up like that." And I felt a little bad listening to that because I thought that, yeah, you want to encourage your children to work hard, but that could kind of also maybe teach them a little bit of scorn for those whose circumstances are less fortunate than theirs, because you don't really know the backstory of this man. Could have house could have burnt down or whatever. But either way, is there a way we can motivate our children to excel in life without having them look down on people who might be going through struggles? So, sisters, what do you think? How do we teach our children empathy?
We have a responsibility as parents and teachers to be the right kind of example. And I'll say so. I'll tell a personal story, but then I also want to talk about an experience I had as a teacher in a school. The first time that I was here in Florida, it was a private school. They had all kinds of problems as a new school. But I remember my assistant teacher once doing the exact same thing that you described. There was a guy out on the street. He, was picking up paper. And she rather brusquely said to the students, and remember, these are 5-year-olds. She brusquely said to the students, "You see that man out there? You're going to end up like him or in prison if you don't learn to work hard, do your work, and make yourself a responsible citizen. Otherwise, you're going to be just like that man picking up garbage off the street, and you'll probably be eating garbage too." And I was appalled because that lesson almost came out of nowhere. Instead of using it as a teachable moment, because it's okay to say, you don't want to end up unfortunate in an unfortunate circumstance by making wrong choices. But there is a better way to say that. And when my kids were small, even though they may not have understood the ramifications of abject poverty in our own country and other countries, they did learn how to practice compassion. We actually, I won't say the word adopted, but we actually sponsored a child through the organization Compassion. And Lavinia, who was about 7 years old herself, was old enough to write to the little girl. She was in Uganda. Her name was Justina Natembo. And I remember when we got involved, We learned about her country. We learned about her village. Lavinia would write a letter to her, and through the sponsor on the other side, Justina would draw pictures back. She was roughly the same age as Lavinia, maybe a little older. She was part of the program where she got to have food and clothing that was sent. So we didn't just send money, we also sent our relationships. And we were sponsoring this child for about 5 years before she left the program. And that was just one of the ways in which my kids learned how to be compassionate toward other children in other countries. One of the things that I did as a runner in the Chicago Marathon was to sponsor different children, or just raising funds to build water wells in countries in Africa that had no clean water. And it was an exciting moment because I not only improved my health, but I ran further than I'd ever run in my whole life, 26.2 miles, and raised money to help sponsor children in World Vision. And I was part of Team World Vision. And I think that in order to teach your kids compassion, you have to also show them compassion. And also, I think over time, they will learn that the reward is the joy that God gives you in your heart, that you have helped others, that you have learned not to be selfish. This isn't a ploy to make you not feel guilty that you have more, but to even realize that you are just like any other person who is born in the world. Sometimes they are born into good circumstances, sometimes they are not, and sometimes they fall on hard times. And being willing to be a part of their suffering. In fact, that's one of the things one of my runner friends has tattooed on his back: remember the poor and consider their suffering. That's tattooed on his back in honor of his father, who was one of those pastors that was totally into those kind of ministries and helping the poor.
Well, that's interesting. Made it body art, huh? You got a tattoo. That's different.
Well, it's interesting that you said, Barbara, that that could have been a teachable moment, because it actually was a teachable moment. But what this woman was teaching these children was that poor people who are hard on their luck, do not deserve compassion or humanity. And that's so sometimes what you are doing is being a cautionary tale. And there was always a saying, but for the grace of God go I. And we also have to remember that there are many, many, many people in this country alone where if they got a $400 bill, that would wipe them out. So many of us live from paycheck to paycheck. We don't have savings. We don't have retirement. We don't have enough. And yet what we are constantly doing is looking for someone else to look down on. So how do we teach our children compassion? I think that there are a couple of things. One is, like you, Naima, said, is taking them out and showing them. And sometimes that can almost seem performative. But on the other hand, these are the kinds of things that you do when no one is watching. Like, there are times that I would see someone who was sitting there begging, and not all beggars, let's be fair, not all beggars really want anything from you but maybe money. And I'll tell you a couple of funny stories. Well, not funny, haha. But there was one man that I would see him from time to time, and I would say to people, and this has happened to me several times, if I see you outside of a store, I will say, listen, I don't give you money. If you want groceries or if you want food, I will feed you, because that's what Jesus said to do. So I have bought groceries for people. I have bought McDonald's for people. I have bought, Papa Gino's pizza for people. And I've said, okay, because if you have a problem with drugs or alcohol and I see you outside a restaurant, I'm not going to give you money to feed that problem, even though that may help you from getting dope sick. But what I will do is give you something, because then I know that you ate that day. That day you had a meal. And so that's important. And I don't necessarily have to tell people when I'm doing that. Now, the two funny stories. Once I was standing, and there was a man that came by, and I was in my car, I was getting ready to go into Dunkin' Donuts or something. And the guy said to me, well, do you have any money? And I says, well, I don't give money, but I will give you food. He says, well, I want to buy groceries. I says, okay, I'll take you over to the grocery store. I'll meet you over there, because it was like right across the street, and I'll buy you groceries. Well, I don't really have a place to store the groceries, because I just want the money. Okay, first you said you wanted groceries. Now you say you don't have a place for them. So, red flag. Apparently you're not that hungry. Another time I was getting ready to go into a bank at the ATM, and a guy is standing there and he's asking people for money because he's hungry. And I said to him, listen, I don't give money, but I will walk you over there to Burger King and I will buy you whatever you want. I will buy you a meal. Well, he said to me, can you go and get it for me? Because
they might not have let him in there, because he could have been in there before. And
no, he didn't want to stop begging outside of the bank.
So I got my money hustle on. Can you go give me some food?
Yes. So I guess you're not that hungry. So I don't always give, but I always try to give. And that's the thing is because for me, it was just like, okay, really, I'm not doing all that for you. I just told you I would buy you a meal. And I've walked people in there and they say, thank you very much. It says, you're welcome. That's all. I'll give you the change. Whatever's left, I'll give you the change. But I'm not going to walk up to Burger King out of my way, get you something and bring you something back, because you don't want to walk we're literally talking less than a half of a block. So there's always that. And at the whole time, I wasn't mean or anything. I just says, okay, apparently I'm not the help that you need. Mm-hmm. But what we should always teach our children, like I say, you don't always have to teach them to be suckers, but you do need to teach them that there but for the grace of God go I.
Yeah.
Cheryl, if I didn't know any better, I would have thought you were telling about me. I have the exact same story. And just to make a long story even longer, but I was in a store where I was approached by a woman, and she told me she needed money for milk for her baby. And I offered to actually go to the store, which was right next door to the store we were in, and get it for her. And then it was, oh, no. Really, what I need to do is I need money so I can go to a place and wash up. And I said, well, and at the time I was working in this full-time ministry where we had run a shelter-like organization where she could get shower new fresh clothes from new clothes that we kept in our storeroom. And she changed her story again and says, no, really, I just need money so that I can get to Evanston and I don't have any more bus fare. And I just happen to have CTA tokens, extra tokens. This is back when CTA still was having tokens. And I was going to give them to her. And the woman just got angry and said, well, if you didn't want to give me the money, just say so.
I don't want to give you the money.
I don't want to give you the
money.
And
I said, I can't believe that you're really that destitute. You've changed your story 5 times in the middle of me standing here, and you're in this store, and I think it's illegal for you to be accosting customers. So she huffed away. And I have many stories like that. But we want to train our children on how to show compassion, practice compassion, and sometimes you may be taken advantage of. We would go out on night runs to the Jewel, and because there were people standing around that were begging for food, we would make sandwiches ahead of time, put them in paper bags, and pass them out to people. Now, sometimes these people took these sandwiches because they were really hungry. And sometimes after looking through the bag and not finding any money, they would throw the whole thing away. But, you know, you want to do something that is going to do more than just assuage your own conscience that, oh, I've done something good. You want to really practice, you know, my husband calls it the Judas complex, where you go, why did that woman pour that expensive oil on Jesus? That money could have been used for the poor, you know, that kind of thing. So you don't want to be like that, but you want children to recognize that there are people who are in a position of being in an unfortunate situation, and you want them to not pity, but have compassion, to care about their real needs, to do the kind of things that will help a person graduate out of that subject, out of that situation. Maybe I liked what President Obama did on the Thanksgiving holidays, in which he and his family worked at a soup kitchen and helped serve. I think those kind of things really help a child to develop a kind of nurturing spirit where they can be sensitive to people's needs.
Yeah, I think that is important for them to teach sensitivity. Of course, you know, we've all got our ungrateful beggar stories. I remember.
If you don't want to give me the money, why don't you just say so?
I took a guy to a restaurant, you know, it's the same thing. You say, well, because I didn't have cash. I was like, okay, I'll just get on my card, you know. So we go to the local restaurant, and of course, you know, he acted like he wanted to order a 5-course meal, you know, just get everything and the most expensive thing. And I'm like, you know, I need a tip, giving him a dollar figure as to, okay, you can order up to $10, something, you know, because he was like, oh, and I want this, and then I wanted that, and I wanted that. And I'm like,
can you just eat all of that, or are you just wasting the food?
Yeah, I mean, if you taking groceries home to your family, okay, just tell me. But you know, I said I will buy you a sandwich. You know, that's what I offered. You know, and a while I had to stop him and say, look, I only have, and I forgot what the limit was. I told him, but he had to put some of that stuff back. I mean, in terms of, you know, because I just, you know, yes, I want to be generous, but I'm not trying to. Yeah, you know, and it was at a restaurant, so it was hot food. So I mean, maybe he's gonna take it on, put it on in his refrigerator, but I didn't want to feel like I'm being taken advantage of. You know, I'm not.
You know, once Lavinia and I were coming out of a restaurant, and we had a take-home box, and a guy was begging for it, and so Lavinia was going to give him her part of the pizza that had not been touched, and the man said, "Is that pizza with cheese? I'm lactose intolerant. Could you get me something else?"
Oh, you want me to order you a pizza? I mean, you know, sometimes.
But it's a fine line. It is still a fine line that we have to walk. And you have to teach your children, our children, sometimes you're going to be taken advantage of. But if you're taken advantage of 10 times, and one time that person really needed it, yeah, it is worth it. It is worth
the thing. I mean, if you're going to help, but understand what your limits should be, because you're not responsible for that person's condition, whatever it is.
Right.
You're offering to help get them through a difficult, you know, moment or day or whatever, but you're not responsible for fixing 10 years worth of hunger, you know, about the whole restaurant. And
or alcoholism or addiction. And that's the thing is,
you're not responsible to fix that.
We are responsible for each other as human beings. And we are responsible to be empathetic so that we do not see someone who is homeless or altered or whatever and see that that person is a less than a human being.
Right.
Because that is what we need to remember. But that does not mean that we have to
be a sucker, as you said.
Be a sucker, you know. So, you know, and we've done compassionate things. I mean, you know, sometimes sometimes you can't welcome that person into your home because you don't know them, or they have addiction issues, or they have other issues. But you can say, well, listen, let me put the legwork in, try to get you in touch with some people who actually can help. Sometimes just being able to get them in touch with the right people can be helpful. It doesn't always have to be money or food or something out of your pocket. What it is that you need to be able to treat them as human beings first. And that's where it's and they may not smell good, and they may not, maybe they haven't bathed in a while. Maybe they have all other kind of issues. Maybe they're really frightening, because a lot of people are really frightening if they're in a bad way. But we have to be able to say, rather than trying to either police them out of the way, like calling the cops
Yeah.
or those kind of things that can make them lose their life.
Yeah.
We have to start thinking about the people in our community who may be homeless. And I don't know why people suddenly started thinking that saying that they're unhoused to make it sound better. If you don't have a place to live, you're homeless.
Residentially challenged.
Yeah, exactly. Euphemisms don't help their situation. But
Right.
maybe you can make a call to the council person that the alderman or alderwoman or city councilor or state senator or somebody that and say, listen, this is the person. Can you get me in touch with someone so that that person can be put in the system? Because a lot of people, they don't even know where to start. And
Yeah.
that's what we need to start thinking about, how we can help. And like I said, without being performative, where you only do this when children are around, you do this all the time.
Right.
And then when your children see you, they understand why. And you explain to them, this person has fallen on hard times. We don't know why. We don't care why. What we do know is that if we can help,
Yeah.
we will help, because that is what we are supposed to do. No matter if you're religious or you're not religious, we're all part of the same human family.
Right.
And I'd like to say something about pointing out opportunities to show your children what kind of things show disdain or are not compassionate.
Yes.
When our family lived in uptown in Chicago, there were these benches that used to they were part of the Truman School campus, and they were all around the school, and people could actually sit there while they're waiting for the bus or just rest from walking. Well, to keep homeless people from sitting there, I don't know what institution did this, but obviously it's from the city. They put nails on the benches, these they were spikes.
Yeah,
They
they put
put
spikes on
spikes
to
all
keep them
on top
from
of those
lying
benches
down.
so that no one could sit there or lie there or
Yep.
rest there. And this was to kind of deter maybe mostly homeless people or people who were in a bad way from being able to sit there. And I remember seeing that and pointing that out to my kids and telling them why those spikes were there. They were not spikes of kindness. This was to be mean to people who had no place to sit.
Yes. Yes. And there are a lot of policies in this country that criminalize poverty. That's one of them. They criminalize homelessness when they round them up and they make them, keep on moving, and they know they have no place when they go down and tear down what the little communities that they built out, the tents and things like that. We have a place here in Boston. It's everybody knows it's Mass and Cass, and a lot of people is Massachusetts Avenue and Melnia Cass is where this homeless enclave has. Well, what had happened is that the place where a lot of these people used to go to live, they have addiction issues. There's a methadone clinic near there, but where they used to go was out on Long Island, which is an island off of Quincy, and the bridge collapsed, and so they had to take all the people out of there. Well, they took them out, but they didn't give them any place to go. And when these people have addiction issues, there's a lot of addiction issues there, alcoholism, and the place has become such an eyesore, and it's very scary. When Sarah was going to school, we had to pass by there. We had to drive by there, and it was scary. And it's scary to drive by there at night because people come up to your car and they're begging. And so the new mayor, Mayor Michelle Wu, is looking for a solution to that. And that's like one of her priorities, is to try to fix the problem, not just criminalize them and either arrest them out of existence or move them farther away, because everybody's got that NIMBY thing, not in my backyard. So nobody wants them in their neighborhood. So we have to start thinking, we not only do we have to be compassionate or teach our children, we have to talk to our politicians and vote for people who are compassionate. We have to vote for people who will do things, that will treat homeless and other citizens who are down on their luck as citizens, as human beings. That is also what we have to do, and we have to demonstrate that to our children. I'm voting for Michelle Wu because she says she wants to take care of these people. I'm voting for, this one or that one because that is what their program is, not just, well, we're just going to move them out of here.
Yeah, like they're not even human beings. And that is an important thing for us to demonstrate to our children, not just showing how we help people, but even how we treat people as we help them.
Yeah.
And also how you view people. Because we need to, well, I know with my own children when they were younger, I changed the terminology. I would say, this is someone's father, this is someone's uncle, this is someone's mother, this is someone's sister. I would use those kind of terms with them so they would know this is a person who belongs to someone, and no matter how they ended up on the street, they really do belong to someone. I had a professor that I worked for at North Park, and in his Christmas newsletter, he would describe his son as a free spirit. And his son tragically died in a fire, living out in California, but his son was homeless. And it was at that point, I thought to myself, I need to change the way I even view people that look detestable on the outside. These are people worthy of love, worthy of compassion, worthy of care. Somebody somewhere loves them, even if they have to disassociate with them because maybe they have gone into alcoholism or drug addiction and they are destroying their own families. They all came from somewhere. They didn't start out, they didn't pop out of a bubble or a tree and suddenly they are this devastated looking human being.
They have a story.
I got in a conversation with a man before the pandemic. There was a guy who used to sit in front of the library who would beg. He was selling, the homeless shelter newspaper. And I would always stop and actually talk to him. And we got in a conversation. He was from New Jersey. He told me how his family had disowned him, how he had fallen into hard times because of his own drinking. So he admitted that he had his own problems, but that he had grown sons that would have nothing to do with him. And now he's living in one of these shelters and helping to support himself by selling these newspapers. So, and many times, I would read the articles because they were written by, the homeless population.
Yeah, it's a good
and I started to really get to know him as a person. Now, I knew there was nothing I could do to help him except, give him $5 whenever I went to the library and sit and talk to him. Because one of the most human things you can do is look a person in the eye and really talk to them. And, if they're not on the verge of going crazy and trying to harm you, you can actually have a conversation with somebody who's in that position.
And you can make friends. You can. Well, it's time to go, but I think we've got some good ideas for us to remember that everybody's a human being, no matter where they're living. And if they don't have a place to live, they still deserve our respect. So remember to show them respect so you can show your children how to respect everybody. Well, it's time to go. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, 3 Black Moms, and follow us on Facebook, 3 Black Moms. I'm Naima.
I'm Cheryl.
I'm Barbara. We are 3 Black Moms. Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're 3 Black Moms.